大家好，我是曹祖林，然后我炉石的 ID 是 SamuelTsao，然后大家可以追随我的 Facebook 粉丝专页。亚太区我最喜欢的选手就是那个汤，去年的世界冠军。我相信只要是台湾人最喜欢的选手都会是他。然后如果是整个大师赛的话，应该是刚刚拿下世界冠军的 Hearthstone， 因为我之前也有好几次跟他交手的经验，感觉自己跟他是有差距的。他真的是很厉害的选手。对我影响最深刻的牌组应该是之前的快攻萨满，因为那时候算是我刚开始想要打都市电竞，然后刚开始希望打进季后赛的时候，然后那时候我天梯都是使用这套牌，然后也是因为我天梯那时候只够组出这套牌，所以我就一直玩。后来比赛也会带这个，然后它帮助我赢了很多比赛。希望大家可以支持我，多看我比赛，然后多看台湾人的比赛。希望下一个世界冠军也是我们，也是台湾人。
大家好，我是blitzchung，然后这个 ID 基本上就是一个随机的一个英文字，跟聪就是我自己的本名，然后我自己本身只有在用 Twitter 跟 Twitch， 我也没有说最想，但是我还没有跟陈太标打过，蛮想跟他打一下，像比如说。我们就是台港澳地区，比如说学习或者小曹，其实之前都有跟他们打过蛮多次的。然后我自己最不想遇到可能是Tyler吧，因为Tyler本身跟我蛮好的，然后也比较不想对到他。我打炉石最大的特点应该就是首先是我只爱玩快攻牌，我几乎都不会碰控制类型的牌组。然后第二就是我打牌很快，比如说打牌快上面这一点，有时候你比赛打牌打快就会影响到对手打牌的节奏，就是可能他们都还没思考完下一回合要做什么，你就已经按结束回合了，就可能会影响到他们的一点思路。小曹就是跟我一样是快攻玩家嘛，但是我们两个不一样的点是，我打牌打很快，然后他打牌初期的打很慢很慢。
Our feature match, blitzchung versus SamuelTsao. Is going to be coming right up. It's going to be a Hunter Mirror, but blitzchung on that Secret Hunter and SamuelTsao on the mid-range. So we can check out the list now and just get straight into it.
Yeah, SamuelTsao on the mid-range hunter, which we kind of agree is just the more solid hunter overall, but maybe in the post-buffs meta, it seemed like blitzchung and Staz saw a little bit more potential in the Secret Hunter, and this could potentially be the matchup where Secret Hunter can finally shine, because the early game from the Beast Hunter definitely wants to do things that proc secrets.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very different game to what we've seen from the Secret Hunter versus the Warriors so far this weekend. And I think it's going to have to be for both these players. blitzchung and SamuelTsao have both taken a loss so far this weekend. SamuelTsao losing to Shaxi, and blitzchung taking a loss versus Tyler yesterday. Let's take a look at blitzchung's list though, and you can start to see when you look at SamuelTsao's list as we move over to blitzchung's that how these minions will be able to interact with all of the secrets from blitzchung's list. It's very similar, if not identical. Slightly different, I guess, to Staz's list. Oh wait, no, is it card for card?
Not entirely. For the secondary deck, I think blitzchung has added frenzies, whereas Staz
Yep.
did not have any. And it's just pretty interesting because Secret Hunter has gone 0-4 this weekend so far, purely because it only lined up against Bomb Warrior, I think. So that's not a good representation of how the deck lines up against the field as a whole. So I think this matchup is the one chance for Secret Hunter to prove that it actually can get some Ws.
Yeah, you start to see how the mid-range goes against this. Mid-range Hunter wants to go face where there's Explosive Trap. It wants to trade with a Snake Trap, Freezing Trap, and it definitely wants to play minions, so it's going to go straight into Snake, and it can't often hold off that long. Mid-range Hunter can go late game and do more combo-y style turns because of the Cardmaster's Call and just the way the deck is built overall, but it can't wait forever, and the longer you wait, the more chance the blitzchung has of having Sunreaver Spies and just some of these minions that might not look like huge threats on their own, but if you have threats that can attack without interference and your opponent does not, well, that's when you start stacking up the damage, and then the game's going to end pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a great overview, and I also want to note the interaction of Rat Trap of Mid-Range Hunter and Secret Hunter, because they're both running Rat Trap, SamuelTsao, of course, with only one, and he's also got an Iron Beak Owl there, I think, to shore up the Rogue matchup. But unlike Bomb Warrior, Mid-Range Hunter is not a deck that can consistently fly under the radar of Rat Trap. I think they oftentimes, to come back on board, they do need to do something like Spring Paw, Lynx, and Timberwolf,
Right.
3 cards, and that's only 3 mana. And there are other situations where maybe you can deny them a tracking and just make that turn awkward if they don't want to proc the Rat Trap. So I think it'll be much more difficult for the Mid-Range Hunter to get a win versus Secret Hunter than the Bomb Warrior.
Yeah, speaking about the Rat Trap though, there is 2 deadly shots in SamuelTsao's deck, which means there's as well as there's less chance of actually going under the Rat Trap and not proccing it. I think it is doable, but then also when you do proc it, it's quite likely SamuelTsao has removal that's reasonable enough for it anyway. So we'll have to see how it goes out. He might hold off just till late game when he has the mana to play these multiple cards and a deadly shot, or even maybe a mark shot and a trade would be enough. But let's go into it. Game number 1, SamuelTsao versus blitzchung. SamuelTsao's got a mountain to climb in terms of just getting wins on the board for his standings at 1 and 6. Whereas blitzchung a little bit more even at 3 and 4 right now, and this win would be a big deal. It would allow him to just stay even this week.
Yeah, I think it could be the difference between him being in the bottom half of the pack and maybe creeping up into the winner's circle. And he did a mulligan there that was definitely rewarding, of drawing a secrets, which is definitely the mulligan that Secret Hunter just wants to do. Like, you keep the stuff that synergize off of the secrets because you run so many in the deck that it's so likely that you draw one. But this 1, 2, 3, without something like a snipe or a rat trap to get in place, could just be like low-powered minions on curve.
Yeah, it could. But they're still going to be on average higher powered than the mid-range hunter minions on curve, right? So it might still not be the end of the world.
Whereas SamuelTsao's hand is looking pretty bad. He's got Animal Companion for turn 3, but the Owl and Zul'jin are looking dead for at least another 6 turns is my prediction.
Yeah.
Well, the Zul'jin, at least another 9 turns. But the Owl, I don't know what it wants to hit in this matchup outside of specifically high main, but that's not even in the primary for blitzchung.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't no longer have hyenas against secrets. I guess the only thing it really is okay at hitting is just Sunreaver's Spy or a Secret Keeper, just to deny the Secret Keeper
Maybe.
growing and also challenging the Secret Keeper on board.
blitzchung holds off on playing Secret Keeper because he doesn't want it to get eaten up by something like just Spring Paw. But I'm kind of surprised, honestly. I feel like lines up okay against the Timberwolf, and if they play a Spring Paw to deal with it, you're not too sad. There's no Headhunter's Hatchet in SamuelTsao's primary list.
I guess the problem is if they play Spring Paw and play the Lynx as well in the follow-up, then there's a 2-1 and a 1-1 on the board that you have to either play a Sunreaver into or a coin into weapon to kill a 1-1, which really isn't what you want to do. So I think blitzchung's just waiting. This Secret Keeper will get a decent level of value at some point in the game, especially with that coin. It means that the second he draws a secret, he can go off as and when he wants. Sunreaver Spy is a bit of a different question though, because it's a much better statted minion for the 2 mana than the 1 mana is for the Secret Keeper.
As an added funny interaction, if blitzchung's Secret Keeper is on board, SamuelTsao playing Rat Trap would also buff it.
Yeah.
But that's not something we really need to worry about here. SamuelTsao with Animal Companion, I don't think any outcome other than Nisha is particularly good. And even Nisha dies to coin mark shot, so maybe SamuelTsao just rips a deadly shot here.
It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, would it?
No, I don't think so.
Because again, there aren't that many big targets. A lot of the big targets are from the secrets, or the secrets just buying time for the smaller minions to start chipping more damage. Yeah, he's gonna go for it. Well, madness.
And I think over last week, I was pretty impressed with SamuelTsao's Min Hunter play overall. I was just learning about Zul'jin timing by watching him play, and I think it's a smart bring for him to be back on it this week, not only because the deck seems to be comfortable for him, but because the field is full of bomb warriors.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he didn't run into one.
Yeah, that just happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's just the way it works here in Grandmasters. Dire Frenzy looks good to me.
But what minion does he want to frenzy? It's unlikely that a companion sticks this turn.
I mean, SamuelTsao has the option of just playing slowly this game, because he has now. I'm guessing he went Frenzy. Oh, he didn't. He went Mark Shot. So if he went Frenzy, he could slow play because he has the Zul'jin, he has Frenzy, he has an Animal Calm. He's hopefully, for him, going to draw into Master's Call soon.
Yeah.
All of that adds up to the powerful late game mid-range hunter style. But he did choose to go away from that and go Mark Shot instead. Want something a bit more reactionary.
Yeah, I like the Mark Shot because while Dire Frenzy is a great card rolling into Zul'jin, I think the hand just doesn't support the Frenzy. There's no good targets for it. If he had even a single Spring Paw, I think that would have changed my answer. But the game plan for the mid hunter is to be the aggressor in this matchup for sure. So I think having Mark Shot and Unleash the Beast just allows him to stay alive until he can get to Zul'jin. In which case, you don't even need to draw your whole deck or have a bunch of frenzied minions with Zul'jin, because it's not like their opposing Zul'jin does anything too crazy.
Yeah, SamuelTsao at the moment has a bit of a slow turn going on with just the wolf to replay into the bow. Doesn't feel fantastic. Maybe you just throw down an owl into hero power. Like, maybe that's just enough right now. It looks really bad, but the longer you save this owl, like you said, there aren't tons of targets, which means that maybe it's worth just hitting there. Maybe it soaks a bow charge and then you're okay with it. Maybe that's the best use you get.
Yeah, it's really tough. I think I don't mind just the hero power here, because I think the owl would never soak a bow charge because it's such a valuable resource for blitzchung, knowing especially that there's no weapon removal from SamuelTsao. And this is quite an awkward Zilliax for Unleash the Beast to go into, but I quite like just getting it out of the way. Would you owl this? The rest of the turn sucks if you do that, is the problem.
Yeah, I think you just play Unleash the Beast. You have to, right?
Yeah. He's not happy about it, but on the bright side for SamuelTsao, blitzchung has not had great pressure in the early game, and the longer the game goes, the more the mid-hunter is favored, the more they have time to get to their Scale Hides and Dire Frenzy, which can quickly offset any of the early aggression blitzchung might have had. As a side note, blitzchung's interview seemed very accurate. He said that SamuelTsao likes to play aggro decks, but he plays them slowly, whereas blitzchung takes the turn immediately and doesn't give the opponent any time to do off timing. If anyone remembers those well-played videos.
I mean, it is a thing. At the end of the day, the speed in which you take your turn affects how quickly your opponent has to do their turn. You know, that's just directly affected. I'm not saying it's always correct to do so, but playing fast does make your opponent have less time to consider things where they don't have to make a choice.
Yeah. So the timing of Freezing Trap here is great because blitzchung knows there's another Unleash the Beast, which SamuelTsao ideally would have wanted to run into Zilliax. Now he's much less happy to do so, and the Rat Trap, funnily enough, will buff the Secret Keeper if he plays it here.
I think this might just have to be a Mark Shot, because the problem is the punish from Freezing Trap is too much on a 6-mana minion.
I agree.
That's insane.
Well, Beast Within with the Owl can allow the Owl to actually clear something.
I wonder if just as much then Goblin Prank's better. Gives the Owl 5 attack.
True.
I guess it's cheaper though, right?
Yeah. And the way that Beast Within works, it still interacts with Freezing Trap, right? Even though you're not queuing the attack, it's still an attacking minion, so it will get bounced back. SamuelTsao, just careful not to proc any secrets he doesn't have to, because that will just buff up the Eagle Horn bow even more. And I think this is blitzchung's opportunity to start seizing the board. I think dropping the Life Drinker here just makes a lot of sense. He can trade off the owl.
Coin Rapid Fire is fine as well.
Sure, yeah. So he can keep
Just to hit them a bit more.
Yeah, seems good.
I think he should use Coin now, though. There's no Zul'jin in sight, so there's no real plan for a long game. Zul'jin could be your next card, or it could be the bottom card. So everything else, he's very likely to be able to make a strong play next turn with his hand +1 card draw. So I really like this. Just put on the pressure, and now SamuelTsao has to do something. And if he was worried about freezing trap last turn, well, he's just as worried, if not a little bit more this turn, because he's falling further behind.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hesitation from blitzchung there was just wondering about how punished he gets by Unleash the Hounds plus Timberwolf specifically, in which case the Life Drinker still survives after the 3 trades, I think, so wasn't too sad about it. The second mark shot off the top is quite good for SamuelTsao.
MD, Flare, or Cyber
Flare against Secret Hunter!
Yeah, I mean, Flare's a thing.
He removes the freezing trap and then the
I think he waits though.
Yeah, that was worth considering. But then if he waited, I think the turn would have been Rat Trap Hero Power, and his hero powers are not very relevant right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough choice. But the problem is your Flare normally only gets way better. But I guess if you don't Flare now, do you even get to that point? It's pretty hard.
Then got a 50-50 to snipe the Secret Keeper. If it hits the Life Drinker, that's pretty disastrous, I think, because you would unleash the beast into it anyway, but he wins the 50-50.
Brave plays from SamuelTsao. He could have waited and had a much more consistent trade next turn. There's another secret. His only explosive trap, so one of the lower impact in the most matchups, I think.
Yes.
The explosive trap, but it's just there for variety and for subject 9 to pull.
The problem is SamuelTsao knows there's 2 of freezing for blitzchung, so he could be worried about the second one. He can test for it with the Shimmerfly though. So
I mean, a 1-mana minion's about as good as it's going to get outside of an Unleash the Hound, so...
You could even start the turn with Timberwolf so that if it isn't freezing, then the Shimmerfly trades up into a Life Drinker. Can still fit in the...
Is he ever worried about... He's not seen Snipe yet, right?
Nope, but are you sad if your Snipe kills a 1-mana 1/1?
A little bit. It's a lot of damage, and I think what SamuelTsao needs now is damage to make up the difference. blitzchung is on full health right now.
The thing is, if he's worried about second freezing, I think the Shimmerfly attack always happens, so I like having like the upside of if it's not freezing, it gets to kill something. So this makes a lot of sense to me. Now he knows it's not freezing, it's not Snake, so he's worried about Rat and Explosive, exactly. Also knows it's not Snipe. So going for Rhino to trade this off also seems really strong. Oh, but I guess it's worse mana usage, and
I think with Zul'jin next turn, it looks a little bit better just to get the additional Wyvern on the board. And now blitzchung is the one that's running out of resources a little bit. This mark shot pretty clutch to be able to clear out this guaranteed. Huh.
Lark's Boomzooka is buffed, but still pretty bad, I would say.
I wonder if it is bad. I'm going to go wild. I mean, it's probably not the pick out of these options, but because it pulls minions out, then it gets him to his Zul'jin quicker, which is an extreme decision, but maybe one that blitzchung might feel he needs. Like, what does he care about minions? If he draws a minion off the top, it's either going to be low impact or exactly subject 9.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So for SamuelTsao here, he's obviously scared, being at 10 health and facing down an Eagle Hornbow in the hero power. He knows that just a Beast and Kill command could get blitzchung there, or even like Life Drinker plus some type of discovered spell like this Bomb Toss. So I think he's definitely looking at Zul'jin this turn just to get the armor. Next turn, he can go Master's Call, pick up the Scale Hide, and then put the Frenzy on that. Thing is, Scale Hide this turn doesn't get to attack, so it won't heal him.
doesn't, but Masters Call, Dire Frenzy, and something that sets up an insane Zul'jin the turn after. I would have been very tempted to actually just go for the spells this turn and then play Zul'jin. It's very greedy, but I don't know if blitzchung really plays anything that would have actually realistically killed him.
Wait, if he didn't Zul'jin? I just mentioned kill command and stuff, right?
Yeah, but like, I think the way he's been playing, blitzchung doesn't have aggressive options.
Right.
In hand,
it would have
because he would have done aggressive things.
Yeah, it would have had to have been a top deck.
Yeah.
Which is a fair point, but I feel like with this, how does SamuelTsao lose, right? It would have been lethal if he didn't Zul'jin. Haha.
Well, we don't talk about the second the turn happens, it doesn't count.
And now blitzchung.
Wait, would it? Oh, with a bomb toss, yeah.
Yep.
Because that's only one rapid fire, isn't it? It's not the twin spell.
Yeah, it's the second half of it. And now blitzchung, I think, is forced to make some type of rapid fire onto the Timberwolf and deadly shot play. He maybe holds on to all the rest of his damage resources for face over the next few turns.
But does he have to go face with everything anyway? I think he has to go face with everything and not play a minion, so he buys some time.
Well, it was the difference between rapid fire one thing and then face, and then so you guarantee the deadly shot removes more damage. So I'm just wondering how much the one damage going face matters.
So now he has 2 damage to go to 10.
Yeah.
He has the bow and another hero power next turn to do another 5, which then puts him within kill command, either hero power, kill command the bomb going off, or kill command with a beast.
Sure.
For lethal. Whereas rapid fire would put him 1 damage away. Sorry, not using rapid fire will put him 1 damage away from setting up potential lethal next turn. More consistently. So I think the damage, he has 26, he's surviving. He's surviving a turn.
It's a fair point. I guess the difference between the Timberwolf sticking and not sticking on his turn timer was not much because he was dead over 2 turns almost, no matter what SamuelTsao could set up on that board. So I think that makes sense. And now SamuelTsao doesn't even have a target for scale height if it were even in hand, and it's not, which makes me think it got tracked over, which is quite unlucky. Because there is a Master's Call.
He just burnt a Master's Call too.
Yeah. So the best thing for him to do now is just set up the counter lethal. blitzchung plays the one of Unleash the Hounds, which is the scary part.
He can't play around it.
Yeah.
Well, he can explosive trap.
Oh yeah.
Which is fine, which is playing around it. I mean, he can't afford to not play minions to play around it because he needs to kill him. He needs to kill blitzchung in the next turn.
He absolutely needs to set up the counter lethal.
So a life drink, animal companion, unleash the hounds. All of these things are lethal next turn.
Just anything to activate kill command.
All coming down to this last draw for blitzchung and SamuelTsao. And
that's not...
is not going to be enough because
mana.
that is the one beast in the whole deck he cannot draw. Oh, Life Drinker would have done it because it deals damage. So it would have made up the damage he missed from hero power. Subject 9 is too expensive.
Yeah, and even if he were to get explosive trap from this, the kill command could only set SamuelTsao to 4, in which case he could still push through an explosive trap for lethal.
The biggest frustration here for blitzchung is he could have bomb tossed last turn to just put the damage in, right? But it would have set up a scale high that SamuelTsao could trade into and heal, which would completely negate the bomb toss anyway if he died frenzied him. Or even if it healed for 1, it would have put them out of range. So very, very tough choice there. And blitzchung just unfortunate that he drew one of the few cards, or I say one of the few cards, this deck was pretty thick. One of the cards, or the only beast that would activate kill command but not in turn deal enough damage because of the mana usage. So SamuelTsao gets away with it there, and there was a couple of turns that were pretty impactful overall, and SamuelTsao was looking a little bit rough. But again, it's one of those weird situations where do you do enough when your opponent isn't proccing your secrets? It's a very tough question because I've not seen tons of this matchup and some of the other matchups play out too much. But it's one I think you need to go back to the drawing board sometimes because we saw, because SamuelTsao didn't have much of a hand, Blitzchung didn't have much of a board.
True.
So it's just like a weird roundabout way that you want your opponent to play stuff and run into secrets to get you further ahead. But yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know if the players are going to switch. What do you think?
Well, I still want to talk about what happened in that
Oh, yeah,
matchup
by all
because
means,
I
talk
mean,
away.
as much as I wanted to say that this is a matchup that gives the Secret Hunter more of a chance to win, because it was very close towards the end there. He didn't just roll over and die, unlike against the Bomb Warrior matchups. It seems like, because as you mentioned, the deck relies on your opponent doing things. Isn't that just a bad concept of a deck to begin with, if your win condition entirely relies on your opponent doing stuff? And I also think that we talked about this on ladder, the win rate of Secret Hunter is probably higher than it would be in an open deck list format, because people just don't know which secrets to play around, and maybe they aren't as seasoned about the proper way to play around those secrets, and that type of difference can be huge.
Right, and that's one of the frustrating things as well, or one of the different things is back in earlier days where Hunter played secrets consistently, they also played beasts and things. Right? They also played curve minions that weren't reliant on secrets. The secrets were there as more of a support package. But when you make your deck about it, then you need these minions as well as secrets. The weird part for me is the Secret Keeper's not so bad because you can curve it into a secret to buff it, and it's cheap enough to weave in anyway. But even the Sunreaver Spy, well, you don't play a secret on 1 most of the time, so then you play in Sunreaver Spy on 2 as a 2/3, which is just a bad minion, or you play it later anyway, and the later you play in it, the less impact it has. So it's just kind of like a weird roundabout way it doesn't fit in with Hunter specifically. Like, it feels like it fits Paladin much more if Paladin could afford to run a secret package, because it's turn 1 secret into a 2-drop that gets buffed. Like, that's what you want. But here, I don't think it's enough. And same with Mass Contender. You need a secret on turn 2 into Mass Contender, and even then, yes, it puts 2 secrets on the board, but it's only a 2/4. It's not the biggest threat in the world.
Makes a lot of sense, and I was ready now to talk about blitzchung potentially moving to secondary because there were high mains, but we did just get spoilers from production that they're both still on their primary decks, and that I think makes sense overall, because the secondary things that blitzchung would have to give up in order to get the high mains probably doesn't fit in with his game plan, which is seizing the early game in the matchup, because once you're starting to add value, even though on paper the high mains look good against mid-range Hunter, the deck as a whole does not support playing for long value against mid-range Hunter, because they just have more stuff
and
in their
don't
Zul'jins.
have Master Skull.
Yes,
which is a big deal when you want to draw high mains. Okay, well, let's go to game number 2. This might be a big deal here for SamuelTsao. If he can get a win, not only does he go 2-6, which helps him take a little step further to get into the top of that table, but also blitzchung stays down and does not even up his score 4-4. Both players already taken a loss weekend. This match is basically to just save some face and just take the, I would say, acceptable 1-1 record for a weekend of play.
Yep. And with blitzchung's interview, he did mention that the blitz has no meaning, but I really think it does have meaning because the guy plays aggro and never control. He admits it. And Tyler mentioned that this could potentially be a big weakness for him, is predictability. And in a format like GM where you only face 2 people a week, that is a real thing. It's not like when you're going to Vegas, for example. It's not like the 300 people are going to target specifically you. But in Grandmasters, maybe he needs to step out of his comfort zone a little bit more to be able to shore up his win rate. Because earlier in the weeks of GM, I think blitzchung was getting quite some wins. And maybe as he started to be on the same pattern, his opponents were able to make a better read on him.
Yep, already turn 1, SamuelTsao has to make some late game decisions between Dire Frenzy and Zul'jin. I don't think you have a rate mark shot higher than that, and with a Dire Frenzy already in hand, SamuelTsao's going to go for the troll.
Yeah.
Blitzchung, though, I do agree. It's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Because I just mentioned that a 1-1 score on a weekend is an acceptable score for a weekend. So you don't want to go for the whole series like that, because that might not be enough to put you in top 3. But for a weekend, it's not bad. And if you're against blitzchung, and let's just say you can go, well, blitzchung's playing aggro, so I'm going to play a deck that can be aggro. And then you use your sideboard, your secondary and tertiary deck, to hedge against some other matchups that your other opponent you think might bring, then you're looking, I think, at least reasonably likely to go 2-0, or as likely as you're ever going to get, without, you know, the mega read. So I do agree that being readable to this extent and openly saying I play aggro, when it's not a bait, because he does, just keep bringing aggro, it is a little bit dicey when we get further and further into the season.
I mean, I would love to see 2 weeks from now, blitzchung changed man just brings control one day and
Elysiana
completely-
double banker warrior,
Or-
and you're like,
yeah.
what? It's like,
or anti-control, something to specifically beat Bomb Warrior. In any case, he was already faced with the decision of what secret to start with, and Snake is the least likely of getting proc. Actually, all of these are unlikely to get proc because they're all attack-based secrets.
right.
But the hand looks awful for blitzchung. He needs something to benefit off of the secrets. And we talked about this already, that the mulligan tends to be keeping things that synergize with the secrets, but not the secrets themselves, because so often you end up with hands like this, where you draw the secrets you run in the deck and there's like 7 of them. And then suddenly you're just doing nothing turn after turn.
It's tough, isn't it? I'm going to play more of this deck after this weekend, just to discover if it's as bad as I think it is. Well, honestly, I'm not even trying to be overly funny, because this deck relies on being active in the curve.
Yep.
But it doesn't really run card draw. Like in Blitzchung's list, he runs 0 track-ins.
Yeah.
So there is Subject 9
And
and
that's
then
it.
stuff from Mark Shots sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So if you can't consistently draw cards, then your mulligan has to be very good, or you end up with certain, I won't say hands even as bad as this, but even if your hand is half as bad as this, it's still not good, is it? You know, it's still a problem, because SamuelTsao now has all the time in the world to do whatever, because he's not under any pressure whatsoever. Blitzchung gets the bow this turn, which his draws could only improve from this point onwards anyway, because of the way his hand is shaped. But SamuelTsao can just wait
Yeah.
and set up the Scale Hide into Dire Frenzy with a Spring Paw on the same turn, and that means he can play around Snipe and he can play around Freezing Trap, and then just go and be like, well, I've got my heals now, I have Rush minions. What do you secrets do anymore? Because most secrets kind of suck versus Rush when they're minion interaction based secret.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head there. I guess the only quote-unquote downside of what SamuelTsao's position is right now is he needs to play a minion, or he'll overdraw, and playing a minion risks the snipe possibility. But it's not even snipe that blitzchung has played, so he's not even having to worry about the Eagle Horn bow getting buffed.
Right, and this is the thing as well. A lot of the time, the bow, you just presume the bow's infinite.
Yeah.
Right, because in most circumstances it ends up being, because you cannot progress and win the game without proccing these secrets. So if they've equipped a bow, fine, that's just the way it is. But even like if that was snipe, the bow gets a charge, but it's up to 3 anyway. So you're not changed too much in the immediate future. And then it's sniped to 1-1. Cool. You know, move on with your life after that. Like, it's fine for SamuelTsao. I think Blitzchung's in a real rough spot here. He might honestly have to go, yeah, explosive, swing, and that's his plan for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking, just swing deal 5 damage every single turn. In 6 turns you win.
I mean, sure. Sometimes you draw kill commands to rush that as well.
Well, that's what I'm
but-
saying. Minimum of 6 turns you win. I think, honestly, I think that's the plan.
I mean, yeah, that's all his hand. Literally all his hand allows him
I
to
don't
do.
know about the freezing. The freezing won't proc because of the order in which he has played the secrets, or won't proc unless something with higher health gets through. But I think that's just 2 damage missed.
Could be. It's not like he could have been preempting the coin Unleash the Beast, but there was no minion for it to rush into anyway. So yeah, I'm a little confused
And the swing
about
of the swing of the bow, your bow charge is about to go up to 1 million at this turn. So just swing it. Maybe he wants to have more options. So one point about the bow, he could be saving it to have more options if SamuelTsao chooses to not proc a secret this turn, which he could do. He could just play a minion and pass and wait and hero power himself.
It does make sense. Like SamuelTsao, as you mentioned, under a grand total of 0 pressure, so he could very well just buff a minion, call it a day. And when he does start proccing secrets, I think he'll ensure that he'll be in a good position to swing whatever benefit Blitzchung got off of them.
SamuelTsao just really wants to get rid of freezing traps here.
Yeah.
I think that's all he's really bothered about. Because the second he gets rid of freezing traps, he can freely scale hide Dire Frenzy, and then the game starts for him.
I was looking at Animal Companion Hero Power Pass there, but if you land Huffer, that just makes blitzchung's explosive better on the turn after. So SamuelTsao is choosing to bite half the bullet this turn, and then just allow himself more options going forward. And now blitzchung.
But the explosive would have been used, you mean freezing?
Yeah.
Right. There's Mark Shot and more options.
Flare gets rid of a rat trap.
Draws a card. Blitzchung kind of needs card draw.
I've
Okay.
been thinking that every single turn of every single Secret Hunter game, this deck kind of needs card draw.
Well, there's a few options. These are all reasonable options because Deadly Shot kills the Wyvern that's going to follow up anyway, right? And then Freezing Trap bounces something that's going to no doubt try and kill you. But I think this Flare just ticks slightly too many boxes to not take it.
Yeah. And blitzchung is going to start pushing things face, not even going to bother clearing a 5-1 because he has the freezing trap in play.
Yep. Take 5 damage regardless.
SamuelTsao is jamming to some song that I can't hear right now, just bobbing his head, and I think he's feeling it because he's in such a great spot here. blitzchung, without any of the early curve, like Secret Keepers and Sunreaver Spies and Mass Contenders, is just completely reliant on spells to deal the entire 30 damage. Spells and the Eagle Horn Bow.
Yeah. I think
hero
SamuelTsao is
power.
definitely comfortable, but as I said, this damage from just the bow attacks stacks up very quickly. 5 a turn, that's nothing to sniff at.
Yeah.
And if he gets under threat, and then I think he needs to consider how early he needs to put a scale hide on the board.
Yeah, I was gonna mention putting the 4/6 on board, even though it doesn't rush into anything, still requires blitzchung to eventually deal with it. And even if he does, you just have all of them in deck, and you get to draw them sooner rather than later. So I actually wanted to see the scale hide and frenzy just cashed in already.
Yeah. Mark Shot Hero Power go face. I don't think blitzchung wants to play a
Yeah.
minion because he knows what the plan is from
Yes.
SamuelTsao. He doesn't want SamuelTsao to heal that quickly.
I was looking at the deadly, but it doesn't matter because you have freezing on board. So I do like the mark shot. Oh, okay, gonna go for Zilliax instead.
Okay, so for me, SamuelTsao should definitely go for the attack on the Zilliax, proc what you're expecting to be a freezing trap, and then get this scale high Dire Frenzy down.
I like it. Problem is he'll also proc a snake, but I don't think he's too upset about that. He's got Unleash the Hounds to clean up, and he's still at such a healthy life total, getting closer and closer to Zul'jin.
Got something to hide?
It's going to be a lot of damage on the backswing, though, if SamuelTsao goes for it. He does heal for 4, but there's going to be, what, 6 damage just from the minions on board after this? If he goes for the exact scale hide into the Dire Frenzy.
Good ordering from SamuelTsao here. Procs of Freezing still has enough mana for Scale Hide Frenzy, but maybe he would rather just Unleash this turn.
I don't know, all I see are things that are going to make us like heal a scale hide. Or heal my face up. The problem is, Unleash isn't exactly perfect, and every turn that SamuelTsao waits is another turn blitzchung puts a little bit of pressure on.
I think I like
Oh wait, this is
because-
better with the wolf. I wasn't
Yeah.
looking at the wolf, to
Yeah.
be fair. Yeah, this changes a few things.
And it's also got enough mana to still play a Scale Hide just as a 2/3. On board still needs to be dealt with from blitzchung's perspective, and you're sitting on the second one in case anything goes wrong. Like this a lot. SamuelTsao, he's in a position that looks near unlosable to me, if not already unlosable. Subject 9 is drawing 2 spells, the second Rat Trap and second Freezing. Oh, and Snipe, I suppose? I just never know how much Subject 9 draws anymore. All secrets, as if blitzchung needed any more of those.
Yeah.
I think the explosive is okay here.
Depends where he wants to put this bow, right?
The Unleash the Beast was damaged, right? So
Yeah, he could swing the bow into the 1/1 and just play a freezing trap.
I think at this point.
Oh, no.
Oh, it
isn't
wasn't damaged. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So this makes more sense. It's surprising to me that blitzchung hasn't been trying to weave in hero powers more often, because that seems like his only win condition, in my opinion. Because looking at these games, he should just be aware that SamuelTsao can proc these secrets at his own leisure, like any time.
Yeah, I guess the real problem is how much respect blitzchung gives to the scale high dire frenzy. Like that's the biggest issue, because if you go for the all-out aggression plan and getting hero powers every turn, I like it personally, but the second they lay down the scale hide into frenzy and then master's call into another one, you probably just lose at that point in the game. So it's definitely not a one-dimensional strategy you can go for. And it works consistently because of this very straightforward plan from SamuelTsao. And with cards like Master's Call, you can do this very consistently because you draw the unique beasts, which means you draw in Scale Hide fairly often. SamuelTsao, I think, is just, and we've seen this a lot from him in Grandmasters, is just taking a lot of time to just make just the consistent good plays. And I think what he does the best is just, it's nothing hyper flashy, but he's just like relentlessly stepping towards victory every turn. And it might not be fast, it might not be super flashy, but he gets there. And I think that's the important thing about the way he's been playing this Hunter.
No, I totally agree. And it seems like he's hardly affected, if not at all, by blitzchung's plan of trying to make his opponents play faster simply because he does himself. SamuelTsao, I think, in my interview with him, mentioned that he also identifies as primarily an aggro player. But it's not like just because the deck plays fast doesn't mean you should play fast.
Right.
There's still a lot of decisions to be made. And unfortunately for blitzchung, he drew into a second rat trap, so that's essentially one less draw that he would have gotten anyway because of the subject 9.
I've seen people, some of the best players in the world, rope on turn 2 just to plan things out in their mind and to work out whether they want to, for example, swing a dagger, play a minion on that turn, or pass, save the minion for a turn later, so on, so on. So there's definitely no reason not to take your time.
Over in EU, I hear they do a lot of roping, but apparently it's not in vogue in APAC. I think SamuelTsao is an outlier. Most of the GMs we've been watching play pretty dang
Just
quick.
comes thick and fast, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's just casting on double speed.
I wonder.
It's really funny as well that like the freezing trap onto a Wyvern has no impact on Zul'jin's Wyvern summons at all. It's not like it's not summoning the beast you've played or died or anything. It's just you played the spell, so it's in the pool.
blitzchung, you mentioned this very early on, but his plan is simply to get there with the bow. And he knows now that there are scale hides in the deck, and at any point SamuelTsao can just play them even though they're not rushing, and they'll eventually be able to attack normally on the turn after, and then blitzchung's window to close the game is up.
I honestly think Zul'jin go face with the bow.
So the Zul'jin would just put a bunch of secrets and mark shot in play. I don't believe he's played anything else.
Is there much else to play though for Zul'jin in this deck? That's one of the problems as well, isn't there?
Yeah, you're
There's
right.
kill commands, one baited arrow,
I guess
one unleash the beast. You know, it's definitely not the Zul'jin we're used to seeing from mid-range Hunter. So I don't think you can give it the same rule set of when you play it.
It's the big one for sure, is Unleash the Beast, and the fact that that hasn't been played, I think, is the tipping point for blitzchung's decision here to hold off a bit longer. But he is gonna go with the Eagle Horn face, and this is the second bow, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think it actually might more be the secrets he had available to play. Because SamuelTsao can't really do anything without proccing Snipe.
True.
If he procs Snipe, he gains an extra charge. Then he plays Zul'jin, swings again, and the Snipe's back on, the freezing trap's back on, the explosive trap's back on.
Yeah.
So again, SamuelTsao can't do anything without proccing a secret, which means he can swing the bow again, along with the kill command and the hero power the turn after. So I think in hindsight, this setup's actually a little bit better, because it gets more consistent secret usage to go off over 3 turns, which are the 3 turns he may feel he needs to win the game.
it makes a lot of sense. What SamuelTsao can do is summon minions through spells, like double Animal Companion, and and hero power, and then simply not send anything to the face. Alternatively, he could Zul'jin, which I think puts some Wyverns back on the board. It may kill them based on the other spells he's played, but it's also that he hasn't played things like Kill Command, so I think the Wyverns would be likely to stick. And in that case, he could simply just set up this board where like he just has counter lethal through the secrets.
I was looking at Zul'jin. I was counting that the hand size and working out what happens here, but the fact Zul'jin plays a Master's Call, which likely draws a Scale Hide, sells Zul'jin to me. It hurts SamuelTsao a little bit that he played it to an extent where he can't actually review what happened. He just has to deal with it. But
This
board
board state, yeah.
can't really do much anyway. The Dire Frenzy goes down, which is fantastic, and most importantly, it means that he just has a Scale Hide in hand, which is huge.
I think it is very good recognition from SamuelTsao that this board almost always sticks, and the only punish is something like Unleash the Hounds, but he knows that he's at 19 with the Zul'jin armor. That's not going to be lethal from blitzchung, so he's now just giving blitzchung no time to draw into better stuff to load up his own Zul'jin. And I think SamuelTsao takes this almost every time, unless the deadly shots were crazy and set up only an explosive board, but
Still potentially some damage knocking around.
sure.
All of these secrets generate stuff for blitzchung, generate damage, minions, and so on, depending on when they're used, of course. Because SamuelTsao has to attack soon.
Full Christmas tree. There must be some lethal here, right? He's got Tundra Rhino.
Through all of those secrets?
So none of them's misdirection. So after you attack with the 5-1, the 5-5 and the 8-8 are home free, right? I guess it depends on the order of the freezing and the
if
explosive going
goes
off.
first,
Yeah.
and then you can lose 10 damage, basically.
And I did not quite catch.
So that's
which way.
freezing.
So the freezing proc first, and then the explosive will go off. So yeah, that's 13 damage. He needs another 13. Maybe not quite, but at the very least, Tundra Rhino and Scale Hide can go face, and that's pretty much GG for blitzchung, I think.
Yeah, the Scale Hide being able to go face is huge. He uses the Shimmerfly to soak the snipe that he knows is there 100% of the time. And again, the difference you brought up earlier of this isn't ladder. They're aware of each other's deck lists. They know exactly which secrets they run, especially post Zul'jin when Zul'jin casts every secret that isn't currently active that you've already played, which means SamuelTsao can heal for even more.
It's only Rat Trap and Snake left, I believe, and neither of those has to go off if SamuelTsao doesn't want to. The Snake never will. Yeah, I just don't see a way back for blitzchung.
Yeah, even with it being able to just throw the hero power, he could actually Bestial Wrath the Scale Hide if he really wanted to. Because he's going to prot the snake, the rat, correct?
Yes, with this is the third card.
So he could even, it would proc snakes, but he could even just Bestial Wrath the Scale Hide to kill a rat to be hyper safe. I think I would go face with everything personally, because I don't think 6 damage is going to matter considering you're going to heal for 6. But he's going to trade.
I think this is just unlosable, right? As long as he does it this way. What can blitzchung realistically do to come back? His best swing card is Zul'jin. That's been used.
23 health now for SamuelTsao too.
Casual 23. This is true. Okay, I thought he was going to trade even the snake.
At least he's putting the 8 to face, that's all I'm bothered about.
Yep.
And now the cards just aren't as good as your opponent's. It's a real issue with this deck, and again, it's just, I thought this would do better, and it's fair to say it has done better in this matchup than it has against Warrior. But only because Warrior looked so one-sided that it's difficult to do worse.
Honestly, this game was quite one-sided as well. At least in the last one, there was a small out for blitzchung to get there. But this game, the Scale Hides came in early.
That's going to be it. SamuelTsao takes it 2-0, and I believe
now 2-6 in overall record, and blitzchung 3-5 now.
Yeah, 0-3 in matches, right? So I'm going to have to lean to agree with Tyler's deep analysis as a pro player on this deck and say that it feels pretty trash.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but I thought this was the matchup where it was supposed to shine, and it still didn't. And I don't even know if SamuelTsao had a nuts draw. He just seemed to have the average thing that
he had
Mid Hunter would have. Yeah. And then he was just very aware of how and when to play around the secrets and when to give the Eagle Horn bow more charges when it didn't matter so much. And just the solid play, and he took the time to think about it, not affected by blitzchung's pace of play at all. I think that blitzchung and possibly StaZ, we haven't seen StaZ's second game, but will be regretting their bring for the week.
Yeah, I think it's been a very difficult weekend so far for Secret Hunter, but we do have one more Secret Hunter match tomorrow, which will be StaZ, as you mentioned. But that was match 3 for us today. And I've just mixed up my notes, so it doesn't matter, but let me check. We have got some more matches coming up. So we've got 2 more left of the day. That was our feature match, but SamuelTsao takes it and goes to a 2-5 record versus blitzchung's record, just looking a little bit worse for him.
I do think it's 2-6.
It's 2-6. My notes say yesterday's notes, not today's. I'm just messing up time after time. It doesn't matter. We're going to go to a break. I'll sort myself out. You guys grab a drink, and we'll be right back for the next match.